let's talk about Ibn Battuta in Civ 7. I'm a fan of Ibn Battuta, the figure. Going across the screen now, you can see his journey. He's traveled further than any other explorer in pre-modern history, going through North Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, China. Crazy historical figure, well worth checking out his diaries that he narrated out. Our Eurocentric sort of education in the United States tells us about people like Marco Polo, Lewis and Clark, Sir Francis Drake, Ferdinand Magellan. It's good to see a figure like Ibn Battuta included in Civ 7 as a leader, included to round out the leader roster for explorers in a way that is really quite unique. I think along with figures like Harriet Tubman and Benjamin Franklin, the sort of non-heads of state figures, he ranks pretty highly up there with people who are especially different from the Civ 6 rosters. So what are his abilities? Ibn Battuta gets 2 wildcard points per age after researching the first civic in that age. He gets +1 sight to all units, and he gets access to the Trade Maps Unique Endeavor that reveals all territory within the nation's borders. I'm going to touch on that more in a minute. What are his weaknesses? Well, wildcard points, simply not that valuable. Early bonuses to things like wonder production or science can be accomplished by other leaders in a lot more unique, engaging, and powerful ways. If you want faster wonders and faster buildings, Hatshepsut does both of those things better. Hey, you want more diplomacy? Pick Machiavelli. You want more science? Pick Benjamin Franklin, etc. The unique features of other leaders are just more impactful than attribute points, and those leaders can acquire attribute points for their particular tree in a lot of different ways. So, simply put, it allows a lot of flexibility, and it does stack up over the course of a game, but it's just not impactful enough because those attributes have to be weak to the point that they're not game breaking. Having access to more of them just does not create a super unique playstyle. +1 sight has never been particularly powerful in any of the Civ games I've played. It's the strongest part of his suite of abilities, but it's not really saying much. Occasionally you can spot weak units to go after or approaching armies sooner than otherwise, and it is definitely great for finding goody huts in antiquity and to a lesser extent in exploration, which can give some strong early advantage, but otherwise it's pretty unimportant. Additionally, his unique memento was just nerfed in the latest patch, which used to be a powerful combo for early game scouting, but now it kind of just exists. Trade Maps unequivocally sucks in its current iteration. The Civ website still states that Ibn Battuta's Trade Maps Endeavor reveals all explored areas instead of just all the territory within their borders. Being 15 turns to complete and limited to 1 Civ at a time means that by the time you meet all the Civs and complete all the trade maps, you likely can and should be sending your missionaries and scouts and settlers to their distant lands anyway, which can explore better with the added site bonuses you already have. Additionally, with those explorer units, the settlers and missionaries I mentioned, you are exploring the unclaimed territory. You know, the territory worth exploring. Goody huts, unclaimed resources, places to actually settle. All of those are not going to be found within the borders of other civilizations. Maybe, I guess it could be useful for identifying the best trade route locations in other civs. But since traders have to walk to that empire anyway, it doesn't really cost much for you to just send them exploring for a couple of turns with your improved site that you already have to figure out the best spot to send them rather than spending your Diplo points. And on a more minor gripe, I'm not completely sure about the historicity of this, but it seems like flat terrain would be somewhat off base for him. I don't know much about Tangier, but Wikipedia says it's adjacent to a sizable plateau, but the mountains don't seem that far away, and it seems like a hilly city from what I can tell. Given that and his Amazigh heritage coming from the mountains, I would think a case could be made for a mountains bias or coastal, rather than flat. But I digress. How would I fix Ibn Battuta? Make trade maps reveal explored area. This makes for engaging strategic decisions. Hey, maybe a civ you meet early, you would hold off on trading maps until they explore more of their continent. Or maybe you could run it a couple of times with the same Civ. As they explore more, you benefit more. Alternatively, the trade maps could run concurrently with all civs. You can have it open as many times as you want. This can at least let you visualize the ideal location to send your scouts and ships. Rather than having them just jump to a random spot, you say, hey, this section of the map is showing unexplored territory, so let me send my explorers over there to get all the goodie huts and whatnot. I would maybe balance this out by dropping the wildcard bonus. I would give something more akin to other leaders. Maybe expand trade route range. Maybe generate great works when meeting new civs or establishing your first trade route with a civ. And then maybe limit his sight ability to just land units, which might help distinguish future naval leaders that could get sight improvements to naval units. These are all just ideas, but something to give him more of a focus. Uh, Ultimately, his kit, though, I mean, it is practically the thesis statement of what Firaxis wants Civ 7 to be. He's really well rounded. He's capable of going for basically any victory in the game with reasonable strength, and with the wild card abilities he has currently, he can change tech very easily with those points in each age as things change. That said, myself and likely most players of Civ, particularly in single player, are just not interested in changing strategy on a dime very much. Maybe in time the community will adapt to the notion of changing your victory condition in a new age, but for now, the Civ 6 strategy of picking a victory at the start and focusing on the buildings and features for that victory still very much the guiding principle. And right now, I think Ibn Battuta simply does not succeed under that paradigm. I want him to keep that ethos of exploring trading maps, but give him more of a focus to actually achieving any of the victory types. Ultimately, I just want to see Ibn Battuta be an A tier leader in Civ 7, and I want trade maps to not just be a complete waste of 80 odd Diplo. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be working on a few other videos like it, probably going to release a video somewhat soon discussing the most recent patch. So stay tuned, hit subscribe if you want, and have a terrific rest of your day.